Hello again. This is a revised version of the video titled, Who are the Three Unclean Spirits Like Frogs? The short answer to the question is they're spirits known from ancient times as the goddesses Lilith or Layla, Ishtar, also known as the Asherah, Ashtoreth, Isis, etc., and the goddess Maya. I'll just read from the passage where we get this description. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth, and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. You might wonder if these unclean spirits are mentioned anywhere else in the Bible. I would say that they are. The prophet Zechariah seems to have had a vision of them and wrote about it in the Old Testament. I'll just read a passage from Zechariah that might tell us more about the unclean spirits. Then the angel that talked with me went forth, and said to me, Lift up now your eyes, and see what is this that goes forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah that goes forth. He said, Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sits in the midst of the ephah. And he said, This is wickedness, and he cast it into the midst of the ephah. And he cast the weight of lead on the mouth thereof. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then I said to the angel that talked with me, Where do they bear the ephah? And he said to me, To build it a house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. So what is this vision of the prophet Zechariah showing us? We see three women, and they're clearly not ordinary women. Two of them have wings like the wings of a stork. They're most likely spirits, since they're depicted flying on the wind like angels. It's widely believed that angels are always male. It's true that angels in the Bible are represented as male, but this doesn't mean that all spirits are angels and male. The word for angel in Hebrew is malach, which has the meaning of messenger or ambassador. This is traditionally a male role, but many spirits may have other roles, and many of these may be given to female spirits. Again, two of the women in the vision have wings like the wings of a stork. The word for stork in Hebrew is chasida, which has the meaning of motherly. In superstition, the stork has long been associated with bringing babies into homes. The Hebrew word for stork is a feminine form, derived also from a root with the meaning saint, religious, and also Chaldean or Chaldea, which is another name for the land of Shinar or Babylonia mentioned in the vision. So these women in the vision clearly have something to do with religion, but not necessarily faith. The prophet Daniel also may have had a vision connected to these three female spirits, and I'll just read a passage from his visions. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus to it, Arise, devour much flesh. So do the three ribs in Daniel's vision have anything to do with the three women of Zechariah's vision? Well, Eve was made from a rib, so a rib could easily stand for a woman or female entity. A rib also makes a crescent form. The form of the waxing crescent moon has long stood for growth and abundance, which is connected to motherhood. In the Bible and elsewhere, cities are also depicted as women. This is clearly from the nurturing aspect of cities. Cities provide shelter, sustenance, livelihood, and so on. A city could be seen as a pleasant wife or mother to one coming out of a harsh wilderness. The root metro, meaning mother, and the term metropolis has this connotation. So do these ribs in Daniel's vision indicate three cities? Most Bible scholars agree that the bear in the vision stands for Persia. The Persian Empire was known to have three imperial cities over the empire. Babylon was probably one of them for a time. It's interesting that the Seljuk Turks were known to carry banners displaying three crescents. The Seljuks were heavily influenced by Persia. The most important thing about the three ribs in the vision is that they call for widespread death and destruction. So we very well may have a connection between the three ribs and the two women with wings like the wings of a stork and the woman in the ephah or basket. Then you have to wonder if these three women appear in other places in the Bible. The book of Proverbs often seems to be about a father giving his son dating advice and telling him which women to go after and which women to avoid. The book is widely believed to have been written by King Solomon, who certainly had a lot of knowledge of women. But was he not also peering into a dimension far beyond human beings? I'll just read some passages from the Proverbs that seem to describe these women. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and saw among the simple ones, I discerned among the youths, a young man void of understanding, passing through the street near her corner. And he went the way to her house, in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of a harlot, and subtle of heart. She is loud and stubborn, her feet abide not in her house. Now is she without, now in the streets, and lies in wait at every corner. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me, this day have I paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet you, diligently to seek your face, and I have found you. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the goodman is not at home. He has gone a long journey. He's taken a bag of money with him, and will come home at the day appointed. With her much fair speech she caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips she forced him. He goes after her straightway, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hastes to the snare, and knows not that it is for his life. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest you ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that you can't know them. A continual dropping and a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. Whosoever hides her hides the wind, and the ointment of his right hand which betrays itself. It is better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. It is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and an angry woman. A foolish woman is clamorous, she is simple and knows nothing, for she sits at the door of her house, on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their ways. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wants understanding, she says to him, Stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he knows not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. Now let's take a look at a few things about the first woman. This is the strange woman or harlot, the woman of the night. On the surface, the proverb seems to be talking about warning against going to prostitutes and harlots, but there seems to be a deeper meaning in the proverb. One of the most prominent characteristics is the black and dark night. Night in Hebrew is Layla, and this is the name that God first gave to darkness in the very beginning of the Bible. And notice that she entices with incense, carvings, fabrics, etc. Would the carvings be something like idols? And this sounds very much like a Catholic Church service. When Israel mixed faith in God with other religions, she's called a harlot. Babylon, including its religion, is described as the mother of harlots. She also changes her views, much like the Catholic Church, and also rabbis will change doctrine at will. Notice that Layla backwards is Halal, which has been translated as Lucifer, and also is Allah, supposedly the Muslim god, which was actually a name sometimes translated from the moon goddess Sin. And the moon goddess Sin, her sign was the crescent moon, which is associated with night and darkness. Now let's take a look at another woman in Proverbs. This is the brawling or contentious woman. I would say this is none other than Ishtar, the queen of heaven. This was a goddess connected primarily in ancient times with fertility, sex, and war. She was connected to rain, which would increase the crops, which would then increase the population, which could then fill the armies for war. Ishtar was also known sometimes as the virile one, that is masculine. Apparently she desires the role of men. Notice how wind, rain, and the housetop figure in with the brawling woman. It's interesting that Ishtar was sometimes known as Gaga, and that the Hebrew translation for housetop is Gog. And it's very interesting that this is much like the name Gog, the apocalyptic figure in the Bible. Jesus himself warned us to get to the housetop. Was this regarding war or floods, something like that? And it's interesting that Ishtar, or the brawling woman, seems to have some power over the weather, the rain and the wind, and this could be catastrophic. Her sign also is believed to be the five-pointed star or pentagram. Notice how the U.S. Army and other armies often use the five-pointed star symbol. Another woman in Proverbs is the foolish woman, and I would say that the best name for her is Maya, and she would best be known for the month of May and spring. She's clamorous. In Hebrew, the word for clamorous, hamam, is connected to the noise of the sea and also the nations. The name of Maya is probably connected to Hebrew mayim for waters, and the name is also Yam backwards. Yam is the Hebrew word for sea. And she likes to steal bread and water. Is this water needed for life and also the waters of commerce? And she seems to be connected to commerce by sea. She sits on the high places of the city. Would that be where the temple and markets are? Her sign appears to be a six-pointed star or hexagram, which may be also a water symbol. So how have these three spirits appeared throughout history, one might ask, and where can we find them today? It seems that sometimes the three spirits or goddesses were combined into one goddess like Diana and Artemis, and taken other names like Columbia, Nina, Isis, and so on. And they were often called the triple goddess, which hints at the three spirits. They were often depicted carrying torches, and you might ask if Lady Liberty is one of these goddesses, and the woman that sits on the top of the Capitol building in Washington District of Columbia is the same spirit. The city of Byzantium was long known to have a symbol of the star and crescent, which could be two of the three spirits, the waxing crescent moon and the torch, the light and the darkness, and this was long before either Christianity or Islam. It appears that many empires of the past have been seduced by these three female spirits, the spirit of religion, the spirit of sea commerce, and the spirit of war. And this is not to say that all female spirits are evil. The book of Proverbs also mentions the wise, virtuous woman who is like Mother Earth, and also the motherly woman of instruction, light, and law. It also appears that three powerful cities would arise with the empires as they gained power in the past, and this may be the three ribs or cities that Daniel saw for the empire of Persia. And you might ask, are there cities today for some mysterious empire that incorporate these three evil spirits? There are three curious cities in the world that don't seem to answer to any clear government. That's the District of Columbia, the Financial District or City of London, and Vatican City. The City of London seems to embody the spirit of Maya, which is sea commerce, and even though the British sea power is gone, the financial power seems to still be there. Vatican City seems to embody Layla, the spirit of false religion, and Washington, D.C. seems to embody Ishtar, the goddess of war. And it's clear that the United States leads war in the world. The Financial District of London seems to lead the world's finances, and of course Vatican City leads the world's religions. So what are these three cities with their corresponding evil spirits up to now? If you connect them to Zechariah's vision, then we can see that commerce and war are carrying false religion to the ancient land of Shinar, and we know that that is Iraq and Syria. And where do we see all the world's conflict today? There seems to be a clear connection between the strange woman or woman of the night, the harlot in the book of Proverbs, and the wicked woman in the ephah, the basket case of Zechariah's vision. And if you notice in the book of Proverbs, the woman of the night is found at every corner. And I have to say with all due respect that it seems that just about everywhere there's now a church, a mosque, or synagogue at just about every corner. And this woman of the night has seduced many people and kings over the ages, and while her husband, the goodman, is away on a long journey, she's been up to no good. And you might ask, who is the goodman? And I say that he's none other than Jesus Christ himself. And it appears that the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet have also been seduced by these three evil spirits and are operating with them frantically before the goodman returns, and they're drawing all the nations into war in the Middle East.